There are political moments where people come in sounding completely confident, right up until one question changes everything. And this might be one of those moments. A heated CNN debate about Senate candidate Graham Plattner suddenly turned into something much larger. Not a debate about one politician, not a debate about scandal, but a debate about whether Americans apply the same standards to everyone in power. Because when the conversation shifted towards Donald Trump, the entire discussion changed. And that's the moment people can't stop talking about. Tonight, we're breaking down the exchange, the reactions it's generating, and the bigger political questions sitting at the center of it all. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. This is Signal Westminster. Let's roll the clip.
The Democratic ethos for a long time was believe all women, and of course, Christine Blasey Ford was lauded. She was hosted on The View. She was on the cover of Time magazine. She was on CBS. She was a celebrity for the left. And there was no evidence actually to suggest that she had even met Brett Kavanaugh. And yet the Democrats embraced that hook, line, and sinker. And now that has changed. And it's only changed because the accuser against Graham Plattner is a Republican. That is it. There is no difference. The only reason they want to discredit her, and the very people who were defending Christine Blasey Ford are now attacking her.
Went after E. Jean Carroll and tried to discredit her because she was a woman attacking a Republican. Is that the same reason?
Those accusations. So
no, you
let's
did
be
this on
clear.
Saturday. You said this on Saturday.
About E. Jean.
Do you want me to read back what you said on Saturday?
Feel free.
Okay, please.
Feel
Thank
free.
you. Thank you, because I come prepared. Okay, so first thing you said.
Okay, I would be careful here because people have had to pay millions of dollars for making the same comments that you're about to make.
Okay, so let me read, and I'm going to start with the quote. I actually do think that if you look at E. Jean Carroll's case now, there is new evidence coming to light. She says that Reid Hoffman has nothing to do with it. It turns out that he may have, and then Abby had to correct you and let you know on Saturday what I'm going to let you know today, which is that has already been presented to a judge.
Let me just try to distill what this conversation seems to be.
Reid Hoffman did actually donate to that.
Hold on a second. This is not about Reid Hoffman, but I do want to observe something about this interaction, because if you're a regular non-red shirt, blue shirt wearing American, what you're basically seeing is that Democrats have decided that sometimes it's okay to believe the accuser and sometimes it's not. And then Republicans have decided that sometimes it's okay to believe the accuser and sometimes it's not. And it really depends mostly on the partisanship in the moment. To me, that is like everything that people think is wrong with our politics.
And Abby, you saw it on display at Graham Plattner's rally tonight. You had Ro Khanna get up and basically say, we should believe the women who have come out and disclosed these allegations. And then you had Graham Plattner saying the exact opposite, that it was a politicized attack. His campaign went on the offensive and went after Lindsay Fifield in that New York Times story. And so they can't even get their own message straight on the same stage in which they're appearing.
So you believe that women their stories should be credited and they should be believed?
Well, you know what, Charles, I actually worked with Lindsay Fifield for many years.
Okay.
She was my colleague, I was her boss. And so in this particular case, yes, I think Lindsay is a credible person and I do believe her.
But not Christine Blasey Ford, you don't believe that? Or do you credit it at all?
Let's also be clear, this is happening.
I want to ask, because when you interviewed Lindsey Graham in 2018, you didn't ask a single word about her. You literally prompted him to repeat what he had said in the Senate and did not say anything about the case that she was presenting. I don't believe that you do care about what women are saying.
Oh, okay.
Let me ask, let's just be transparent about this. You don't believe Christine Blasey Ford. Is he right about that?
I think there are many holes that were poked in Christine Blasey Ford's story, not only by Senate Republicans at the time, but also in all of the information that was revealed. I mean, it was clearly an attempt to try to take down Justice Kavanaugh.
So that's a no. But Charles, you said the people of Maine will decide. Sure, they will.
Right.
Do you believe Lindsay Fifield?
I believe that her story should be taken as at face value to say this is what she believes. I don't know what it has to be litigated. I think it has to be litigated. Yeah, we have to look into it.
Does it?
I believe so. I believe in every case.
Because at the end of the day, I mean, Brett Kavanaugh's situation was not going to be litigated. The ask from Democrats was take it at face value and don't vote.
There was testimony.
There was testimony.
First of all, there was testimony.
Yeah, but that's not litigation.
No,
That's
not
testimony in a confirmation hearing.
Right.
So the ask was listen to this woman, believe her, and vote against his nomination. That was the ask.
Here's what I'll say. I think, to your point, if you feel like you have a blue or a red jersey on, I think we are living in a hypocritical political environment right now. And it is hard to take any accusation and any stance of moral clarity with any real validity because of who is our current president, quite honestly. And I think that he has been convicted by a jury of his peers. He has said called most people everything but a child of God. And then people are asked to hold themselves to a higher standard than the leader of our nation. And I think that is hard for people because we are all flawed humans. What I will say, and I've been saying this for the last 24 hours, the accusations that came out in this investigation are very disturbing to me. I will never in this iteration of the political cycle get to vote for Graham Plattner. Mainers will decide. But what I will say is that sometimes, and the American public actually did this in 2024, sometimes people's immoral character flaws are less consequential to their life circumstances. And in this instance, I think Mainers are saying Susan Collins is not representing them in the way that they want to be representative. And they are willing to overlook that. And quite honestly, so did 79 million Americans in 2024.
So did tens of millions of Americans who voted for Donald Trump.
That's what I'm saying. But the question is, all I just want to say is the question is why are we there? Why is our economy, why is our international affairs so turbulent, so unstable that we have to overlook really flawed acts on our leaders because other people's leadership is worse?
Overlooking those things is a choice. You know, a permissive culture happens when people allow themselves
to feed your kids
to engage
is
in
not
a
a
permissive
choice.
culture. That's what happens. But I just want to play the James Carville thing because we heard a little taste of it, but here's how he reads the situation.
We got a guy who he could be 100 times more than he is. He'd never be as as what we got in Washington now anyway. And I just saw this tut and hey, we got to do this and we got to be fair. You know, James, if a Republican did what Graham Plattner did, you would be outraged. Yeah, I would. But what I'm more outraged about and what I have to consider first is this country is about to lose it. The whole god thing.
Again, I mean, you could swap the name Graham Plattner for Donald Trump, and it would be the exact same rationale.
Look, the allegations against Graham Plattner are very serious and need to be taken seriously. I don't think any accusation carries a conviction. They need to be examined. They're far less serious than the accusations against Donald Trump, not just by E. Jean Carroll, but by many other women, confirmed in his own attitude. You can grab him by you know what. Okay? So there are two different cases, and we should distinguish between them. What Carville says, he's onto something. Americans are not as interested in some ways in class issues as they are in vulnerability issues. They recognize in candidates like Marjorie Taylor Greene and in Graham Plattner the precariousness of life in our country. We are one divorce away from being in the toilet. We're one illness away from being in the gutter. And that is not the American way. And they hear the shiny people tutting, as he says, get this candidate out, get that candidate out, don't vote for this person, don't leave it up to the people of Maine, I trust them.
Well, okay. Then we can say pretty definitively, no more talk about character. Whether it's Donald Trump or Graham Plattner or Marjorie Taylor Greene or anyone.
No,
why not? I mean, let's not talk about it because if the policy is the thing that is the most important to you, and the policy from the left looks a certain way to you, policy from the right looks a certain way to you, then all the other moral issues should just be off the table.
No, but they shouldn't be policed. But I'm saying this, I refuse. I've watched enough cycles since, 16 of Democrats being judged by a different ruler. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that the worst ruler should rule the day. I'm simply saying this idea of that there are different measurements for the same sorts of behavior that some people just ignore, and other people drop out and say, okay, well, you're supposed to be the better, the more moral group.
I
that
would
is
like
played
to point
out.
out, though, this is a primary. So Democrats have the opportunity to select a candidate. They can take out Susan Collins, right? This isn't about a question, do I vote for Graham Plattner or do I vote for Susan Collins? This is a question, do I vote for somebody who's normal or do I vote for somebody who has a Nazi tattoo?
Let me just ask you one last thing, and then we have to go. Given everything that was said here, especially about the allegations against President Trump, many of which were validated in court, right? Given all of that, I mean, is that disqualifying for Donald Trump?
I mean, it's
tongue-tied.
Yeah.
Tongue-tied.
And that's
a lot
why,
of them are not. Look, I mean,
and that's the problem.
I think we just have. I think
They
we just have to decide
Just
what
say
we're
it.
what
You
we're
can.
doing.
You'll
here.
still be allowed on television, and they'll still you
We got to
talk.
decide what we're doing here. We either care about it or we don't. Do we care about it?
No.
The
Lydia,
point I'm making
Lydia,
is that in a primary,
there are
you
moments.
have the option to
Hold on.
vote for a Democrat. You can select a normal
just like
person or a
Republicans
Nazi.
had an opportunity to vote
And
for
Republicans
and against
selected
Donald Trump.
Donald
Not
Trump.
once, not twice, but on three occasions. And they ignored
it. Just like
they ignored the
Texas, or
allegations
Texas
against
right now in
Donald
Texas.
Trump.
People ignore stuff. And so the reason why Americans look and are willing actually to do it is because we do it too. Because we're flawed
I
and we're
think a Nazi
human.
tattoo is a little different.
Now, before taking anyone's side here, let's focus on what actually happened. At the center of this date is a simple question. Should accusations against public figures be treated consistently, regardless of political party? That's where the discussion became uncomfortable for almost everyone involved. Watching this panel, I found myself less interested in who was scoring points and more interested in the standards being applied. And Ashley Allison raised something that a lot of people, whether they agree with her or not, have been asking for years. Has American politics reached a point where character standards now depend entirely on political alignment? One side argued that Democrats are being selective about which accusations they take seriously. The other side argued that Republicans lost the moral authority to make that argument after continuing to support Donald Trump, despite years of controversies and legal challenges. And that's why this exchange resonated with so many viewers. Because for many Americans, it reflects a growing frustration with what they see as political double standards. Whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in the middle, the criticism is often the same. The rules seem to change depending on who is being accused. And that may be the most important takeaway from this debate. The bigger question isn't whether one politician survives a controversy. The bigger question is whether voters still believe there is a consistent standard in American politics. Because if the same behavior is judged differently, depending on party affiliation, then trust in the political system becomes even harder to maintain. But that's just one perspective. What do you think? Was Abby Phillip's question fair? Did Lydia Moyan actually answer it? Or are both parties guilty of defending their own side when it becomes politically convenient? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy in-depth political analysis and coverage of the stories shaping Britain, America, and the wider world, subscribe to Signal Westminster. And I'll see you in the next report.